Good morning, Incline Village in Crystal Bay. I'm super excited to be on here today with some VIPs from the schools, our local schools in Incline. We hope that everyone out there has been getting some fresh, enjoying that beautiful summer weather and getting some fresh air and getting some vitamin D, which is needed right now more than ever. So I'm Kari Ferguson, and I'm with the IPGID communication team. I'm going to be introducing everyone today. And I want to thank everyone out in the community for joining us. This is part of our Look Up Remote Wellness Program, and that can be found on our website at yourtahoeplace.org. And we have a Remote Wellness Learning tab on the right side of our website. So we have some great videos on there and everything, so make sure to check that out. And if you're looking for something to do, you're still home and not bored, or if you are bored, click on there. So today our VIPs, we have the assistant principal of Incline High, and I'm gonna name everybody, and then I'm gonna have you say hi, okay? Because the way that the video shows is interesting. So we have Kari Michael from Incline High School, the assistant principal, soon to be IMS principal, very exciting. And then we have Dan Zimmerman from Incline Elementary, who I'm familiar with because I have a fifth grader. And Miss Litynski, Dr. Laura Lijinsky from the Incline Elementary School as well, who's our counselor at the school. So yay, I'm gonna have everyone say a quick hi before we get started. So let me tell you our schedule today. Today we're going to kick off with some very interesting info. We have some updates on our distance learning, which is exciting. And then we also have some tips to help your student and support your student, and maybe support parents who are supporting their students as well. And then next we'll have a counseling and SEL update, and with Dr. Laura again. And then we'll be doing an upcoming school year update with both of our principals, which is very exciting. I know everyone's kind of wondering what it looks like. So, once all of our updates are finished, we're gonna ask questions from you, the community. So what you can do is you can type those questions in your Q&A bubble down at the bottom of your screen. That's about halfway through the program, so you might want to listen first and make sure your question hasn't been answered, and then go ahead and type it in there. So I'm gonna do a quick hi. Everyone's gonna do a quick hi around the board here. Kari, why don't we start with you?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And we don't have all the answers, but we will do our best to let you know where we're at this point.
Awesome. Dan?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited to share with everyone all of the great things that we're doing right now for distance learning. And so I'm really happy to be here.
Great. And Dr. Laura Lijinsky?
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Kari, for inviting us all. And I'm excited to talk about supports and things we can do to support parents and students through distance learning.
Awesome. And then our logo at the bottom of the screen is another Kari, Kari Tonking, who's the behind the scenes. So thank you, Kari, for helping us out today and make this all happen.
Hi, thank you.
Have to give her credit. Okay, so I wanted to get started with the distance learning update. So Dan Zimmerman, we'll start with you.
Great. So I think it's really important for our community to understand sort of the larger picture. So way back on March 16th, when we started our distance learning, the rest of Washoe County School District was on spring break. And they were on spring break for 2 weeks, but we were still in session up in Incline. And so during those 2 weeks, the rest of the district was developing packets for learning, grade level packets. And by and large, that's the method of instruction that's happening in the rest of Washoe County. Now, up in Incline, though, we had been practicing our distance learning a little bit through our snow day plans. When school was out for snow days, we had some distance learning opportunities that we were piloting for the district and the state. So we were fortunate that we had some things already in place. And so when you remember that March 16th, that Monday, it was really snowy. And so we didn't have any opportunity to actually physically meet together to do any kind of planning. That started on that Tuesday. And for some of our grade levels at Incline Elementary, by Wednesday, we had rolled out the major elements of distance learning. So that was really, really exciting. So over the last few years, this is my 4th year at Incline Elementary, we've been doing a lot of work making sure that we had access for technology for our students, and that we had a number of online programs already in place. So that was really, really helpful, so we could just enhance that. So the 2 main programs that we use for just general communication are Microsoft Teams, and that's across the board. That's all Washoe County School District schools. And then we also at our Incline Elementary use Class Dojo, and that's a really user-friendly interface with families. And so I've been able to continue, for example, to do daily announcements. So I announced student birthdays. We have different dress-up days on Fridays. We try to keep the culture of the school alive, and we try to keep the fun in school through those kind of announcements and those fun things. Then we also, the district has Envision, which is a math program that has really amazing online elements and benchmark. And then what we needed to do then was figure out a way to provide interventions also to students who needed that extra support. And I'm really proud of our teachers for doing that. So students who need extra reading help, they're getting it. They're using Zoom meetings. They're using Reading A to Z, an online program. They're using Dreambox. And so not only are Incline students getting their core instruction and they're learning their grade level skills, but we're also able to go in and do some of that intervention work, which is really, really powerful. Yeah, I'm excited that we were able to come together so quickly and roll this out, and the teachers have just been phenomenal. Reaching out to families, reaching out to students, and Dr. Laura will talk a little bit about some of the barriers, because when we think about distance learning, it's as much, for at least for elementary, it's as much about the parents as it is the students, because it's the parents who really need to make sure that the students know when the Zoom meeting is going to be, and they know how to do the assignment, and they know the passwords to log in. So the family support has just been amazing. So that's a little bit about our Incline Elementary School, and so I'll turn it back over to Kari.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, if you haven't seen one of Dan's videos in the morning, they do Pledge of Learning, Pledge of Allegiance, and then also doing just announcements every day to try and keep something normal for these kids, something that they remember, you know. And it's funny, the attitudes after they watch them, they get excited because they miss you. So it's really cool. Yeah. So
I miss them too.
I know. We miss you. But okay, so Kari, if you want to, Ms. Michael, sorry, if you want to start and say what it looks like in high school and middle school.
Sure. I'm glad Dan gave that broad picture overview, because the Incline schools are we were definitely ahead of the game and a little more prepared for this in a variety of ways. Specifically at the high school, thanks to our boosters, we've been on a one-to-one program, so all of our students have had access to laptops of their own for over 4 years now. So, you know, that was a huge barrier in many other schools that we were able to jump over and have the kids ready to go with access to technology. Granted, there's some challenges depending on, you know, the houses or what's happening with Wi-Fi. There's definite challenges to that, but every kid has a device. Some of them are starting to show signs of age right now, so we're trying to figure out how to support the tech support right now, which is challenging when you're remote and, you know, things break, things happen. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but there's definitely been some great things. I echo what Dan said. The teachers have been amazing. It's not an easy task, and it definitely takes you out of your comfort zone to have to provide this distance learning and figure out what it looks like and figure out your flow. And many of us are parents ourselves, and we're trying to figure out the flow of supporting our own kids. So I think it's definitely been a challenge for educators across the world to figure out what this looks like. But some of the highlights are we have teachers learning TikTok and pushing out TikTok videos to their students just to get them engaged. We have a math teacher who says, they don't sign on for my math lesson, but they sign on for my weekly TikToks. So that's pretty fun. We have math teachers having YouTube channels, so they're just teaching like they would teach in the classroom. I had a math teacher who bought a smart board to install in his own house, and he's got his own little setup in his office at his home, and he's teaching math lessons. He even had some kids from out of the district who wanted to join in his lessons because they were pretty great and pretty entertaining. We have a French teacher who was cooking apple crisp with her students virtually last week. So she was doing it through in her kitchen, virtually with her kids. It depends on the teacher. Some teachers are still having very consistent class meetings. Freshman English, freshman biology, some of those classes are meeting consistently. Some of the ROTC classes, AP government is meeting consistently. Spanish, those classes are meeting consistently. Other classes, teachers are pushing out information, and it's up to the kids on when they're gonna tackle that and do that work. As far as some highlights, definitely our We the People team was supposed to go to nationals to compete in the national competition in DC, but that was canceled. So they did the competition through Zoom, which was a huge learning curve for the students and the judges and the coaches, but they persevered and they stuck with it. While the rest of the world was shutting down, these kids did not shut down, and they stuck with it, and they were critiqued by very high-level professionals from all across the country through Zoom. Just last night, Rotary hosted our annual music competition for the students. So we had, again, judges from around the world that we wouldn't have normally had if we had the competition just at the local level. This morning at the Rotary meeting, we had students give their speeches. So we had the Rotary speech contest this morning. And so it's just been interesting to see the way that our normal events have been modified and taken on kind of a new flavor, but definitely retaining some of that magic and retaining some of the engagement that our kids are used to. We did prom coronation virtually last weekend, so we did voting virtually and then kind of broadcast that coronation. We're doing a weekly raffle for the students, and I'd like to shout out to Tea's Restaurant, because we have the teachers submit names for the raffle, and then we randomly pick who wins. And Tees has been super supportive of just keeping a running list of who wins the raffle. So we email them, and they have a list at their register. So that way we're not having to, how do we get these raffle prizes or gift certificates to the kids? So the community has been really great trying to be flexible and find ways to support us. What else? I feel like some students are really thriving in distance learning, and Dr. Laura can talk about that a little bit more, but I've heard from some parents whose kids are prone to acne from maybe stress, and now all of a sudden they don't have their acne anymore because they're not feeling that kind of social anxiety of school. I think kids are getting more sleep, which kind of shows that, you know, we do need to think about modifying our bell schedules in the future, which is something that the district is considering, not for this year, but possibly for next year. So there have been some positives, and some kids who normally are really anxious at school with social anxiety are really thriving. I hear from some parents, yeah, my kid gets up in the morning and they get dressed and they're excited to like log in and meet with their teachers at 10 a.m. or 9:30 or whatever it is. So I think there is some positives. There are some students who are not thriving. It's definitely presented some challenges that are hard for counselors and administrators and teams of educators to problem solve when we're not face-to-face. You kind of underestimate when we're in the school building how much we get done just interacting and talking with one another and touching base with students, and not having that, I think a lot of us feel very disconnected. Kids who are normally not motivated, those issues have been magnified, and it's hard to keep that motivation level going when you're virtual. I think it's hard for, professionals as well as the students. So, there's definitely some great things going on, and there's definitely some challenges that we need to figure out how to address. But overall, I've been super impressed with our staff and the teachers. Incline Middle School, same thing. Staff and the teachers are doing fantastic work, and same great things, same challenges, but there's a lot of greatness happening as well.
Sometimes my mute comes off, sometimes it doesn't. Sorry about that. That's one of the things that kids always hear. You're muted, you're unmuted in the Zoom chats. It's really funny. But so we'll just continue that trend here, I guess. Okay, so now we have some support advice from Dr. Laura Lijinsky. What can you tell us to help our students, our parents, our friends? What can you help with us? Tell us anything.
I just wanted to echo, thank you, Dan, for that big overview, because yeah, my mission as a school counselor is whole child support to encourage them academically. And I help to fill the gaps. So when those things that are happening that are emotional, physical, or behavioral supports that they don't have, where the parents need internal and external resources, that's when I need to bring parents and staff and family members together for communication and strategies, and provide guidance for the classroom, and work closely with the principal to coordinate all those systems of support. So when we went at school, usually we'd have those in place in the morning. So we'd have, you come in and you kind of check the attitude. We'd have Joy Cube, messages, positive messaging going out in the morning, and kids appreciating each other, staff appreciating each other. And we have the announcements with calming classrooms and bringing everybody into a good mood and just ready to learn. And then we'd have all the supports during the day. So when we went to the crisis and distance learning, then that changed everything, right? Because we don't have those structures and those things already in place. So what did parents need? What was the gap? And the gap right now is that now our parents are teachers, right? So they really need all those resources that the teachers have, all those supports the teachers have. And in the crisis, they have a lot of questions, right? So where do I locate all these resources? Where do I get all this? So one of the first things I think that we did was set up a web page where they could get all their questions answered. And just my job was just to put all those resources together, all those gaps together, all those barriers to distance learning that we would have, that maybe we would normally have at school, but make sure that the parents have those things at home. So want to make sure also that they had contact with all the students. So I got a phone number, a professional phone number, so that kids could reach me at any time. And I think one of the main things in distance learning is to let kids know that they're not alone. That they have all the same supports. They have all the teachers they can contact. They have all the friends that they can contact. They have me to contact. They have Mr. Z to contact. So making sure that they know that, and the parents now are not alone, because I feel like we've all kind of felt that way. So so they had all the legal help, the food assistance, the rent assistance, all of that. So how do you keep them motivated for distance learning? We were talking about some of the barriers and the resources. So when we first come into the classroom, we have the Joy Cube. So keeping them in a positive attitude. We have zones of regulation things that we talk about. And those are on my elementary counseling website. So some of these things are already listed. If you go to Incline Elementary Counseling website, and it'll be on the PTA website. All the resources that I talk about today will be on those websites. But we would get them into a green zone, where they are ready to learn and they're happy. So when kids are having fun and they're passionate about what they're doing, then they're going to want to learn. If a kid comes in the morning, and even at home when you wake up, and they're sad or they're anxious, or sad would be the blue zone, anxious would be the yellow zone, or red, they'd be mad about something. Our goal at school and at home can be to get those kids back into the green zone, because if you're going to deal with learning, then all of those other things need to be dealt with first. And there's a lot of things going on with the kids at home. So talking to kids is probably one of the first things to do, in the morning when you're dealing with distance learning, and seeing where they're at so they're ready to learn and in the green zone. And then our positive messaging. So saying things that, watching Dan in the morning is positive messaging for his announcements. But we still have the Joy Cube, students still are emailing messages of appreciation. So we can all start off and set the tone. So parents setting the tone at home is really important, and making sure we're calm and in a positive mood. taking fun breaks, scheduling learning. So we have a schedule, you know, and we have fun breaks that we take during the day, and scheduling all of that into the home, it is very important for these kids so that they know they can work a little, play a little, work a little, play a little, and making sure that they're feeling good about everything. We still have 504s going on. We still have transition to middle school going on. We still have support services for kids who are struggling. For guidance, we can still do those at home. Yeah, and so a lot of the resources that I have been giving for families are going to be listed on the PTA website and on the elementary website. And I also give you a copy to you, Kari, so that you know where you can go for those, such as tutoring, such as social emotional distance learning lessons, such as free counseling. We can offer SEL instruction lessons, links to families wanting to support for rent, legal, food, everything. I will provide that to you so that you can post those for families after we're talking. And so they have access to all of those all of that information. You are very good at, Kari, with these fireside chats at telling everybody about the Embrace, Incline, and all the local supports, right? So we have all of those as well. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And we actually put up the website on the chat. So if you're looking for the website, you can take that right off the chat by just clicking on the 3 dots on the right side of the chat. If you open your chat, there's 3 dots there. Most people don't even know this. And you can just cut and paste that. It's really cool to and save it. You can save the chat in a different folder. So, so that website's there. We also saved a lot of that information as you put it out when we were building our remote learning. We have a resource tab on there as well. And we funneled everything there. We thought, you know what, let's just put information as
You're muted, Kari.
time. The whole time. Sorry. No, just at the end. My computer is giving me grief. Sorry about that. So we did put the information on our remote learning website, or our remote wellness website as well. Anything that you guys put out, I also put it there, just in hopes that everyone would see it, or at least if someone who needed it, if they searched there, they would find it. So sorry about that. We also have some info about counseling and SEL. Can you explain what SEL is if someone doesn't know?
Sure. SEL is social emotional learning, and we use that through the district for, we've adopted through Washoe County School District, the SEL strategies. There's a sheet on the Incline Elementary website that talks about the standards, SEL standards, but I'm going to kind of go through them and see how that integrates into our curriculum and what parents can use for home. And I'm also going to post those resources for each stage of the SEL standards, because they're what kind of guides us through teachers through the day as we're dealing with students. So self-awareness is the first SEL standard. So when we talk about coming in the morning and knowing checking in to see how we're doing and what the students doing, we may have a little meeting about that. So we think it's very important to know where you're at, to know where you need to go, right? So we talked a little bit about that, going from a red zone to a green zone, or a blue zone to a green zone. Some things you can do at home are check in with yourself, check in with your emotions, and pick an emotion you have for a day. I have an emotion wheel up on the website, and you can pick an emotion every day that you're at, and then see how you can work on that, you know, this is where I am every day. Well, how do I get to where I need to be? So self-management, that leads into self-management, which is our second SEL standard. And self-management is how, when we are identifying that check-in, then the strategies that we use to get to the green zone where we go. And we use that with kids. So setting up a schedule with breaks helps with that. Based on how you feel, using a self-management goal sheet, which I can put out. If anybody's interested, they can contact me and I can give them the self-management goal sheet. Self-management includes a lot of different areas. So your physical self-care, this is for parents too. So you have to be in a place where you as a teacher or a parent can give to your student. So you have to be able to self-manage yourself in order to give to your student, and then your student needs to self-manage. So physical self-care is really important, and I know Kari is doing a lot of programs with physical self-care, so that I've advertised those. Virtual relaxation, I'm going to put up a bunch of links about virtual relaxation and calming activities for kids. That's self-management. Mental health self-care, there's free counseling if kids need mental health self-care, and emotional self-care. So that's all part of self-management. Social awareness is the next standard that we go into, and social awareness is being able to have empathy for others and looking at the situation around us right now and understanding it, right? So when you're talking to your kids, don't be afraid to talk to them, but make sure it's developmentally appropriate. And in talking with them, it's important to not have anxiety yourself about talking to them and just answer their questions. Don't give them a lot of, don't go off into tangents if they're asking questions. Take care of yourself and them in that, and make sure, self-assure them and make sure it's, they know that you're there. And we're doing everything we can and with safety. So socially aware also makes, if you want to do things that are inspirational, we do inspirational quotes. We do activities where, if a friend is having a problem, they can reach out to a friend so that they are socially aware of what's going on around them. So those are kinds of things that we do in social awareness. And then relationship skills is the next area. So we would encourage, the kids to interact with each other. We're doing a lot of that in the school team building. Spend times with others, reaching out to their adults and family, friends. And then the next one is responsible decision making. And so taking a problem and seeing if you can come up with different solutions to solve them. And we do that every day at school, but at home, still all of these things help them develop and mature so that they can handle the world around them. So, and if they're having problems with any of these things, then we provide supports to help them. So if any parents are having problems with any of those with their children, or they just want to talk, then we usually, you can just contact me and I can give you all sorts of information regarding all of those things. So.
You are in the know. Yes, you have it all. And we did put your email up. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, my email, and then my phone number is 775-400-6546. If anyone wants further information, like I said, I'm going to post all these resources and give them to you, but if anybody wants further information on something, they can call me.
I just want to add in that Incline Middle School and Incline High School, on their websites, which were posted in the chat as well, there's also a counseling tab there for a variety of resources. So at any level in the Incline schools, go to those websites and look for some of those counseling resources.
Yeah. Don't wait till it's too late. Get in there early and get this figured out. Awesome. All right, and now we have an update on the upcoming school year. Mr. Z, is that, I think that's you, right?
Yeah. So we're still in a period of ambiguity, unfortunately. The district is developing 3 different plans for school opening next year. One of the plans is what happens if we're brick and mortar, if the students are in the building. So what are the health and safety parameters that we would adhere to if that were to be the case? And this is all dependent on state level decisions that are then communicated to the district, which are communicated to the schools. There's a lot of people involved in this decision-making process. So if we are in schools, what does social distancing look like? What are the requirements around personal protective equipment? Are masks required? Would gloves be required? Would we have hand sanitizer available? A question for the upper grades, well, it impacts elementary school as well. Right now, the CDC recommendations are kids would not be able to switch classrooms. Because that could potentially cause some cross-infection. And so in that scenario then, you know, in elementary, would the specials teacher come into the classroom? Is that okay? In a middle school or high school, do the teachers change classes instead of the students? These are all questions that will be worked out in the plan that Washoe County is putting together for brick and mortar. The second option is, what if we were to start with distance learning? So what would that look like? So, you know, from the elementary point of view, thinking about a preschool student or a kindergartner who does not have a lot of experience with computers and Zoom meetings, what would that look like in terms of getting families ready to have their students access distance learning from the beginning? And so who needs a device? Do we have enough devices for everyone? Does every family have internet access? Is it fast enough? If you have multiple children, what if everyone's logging in at the same time? Are they going to be able to access the curriculum that they need to? So those are all these things that are bundled into the idea of starting off with distance learning. Then the third approach would be some sort of blended model, and that could be students attending maybe every other day, so only half of the kids are in school on one day and half on another. Maybe half are in the morning, half are in the afternoon. So some sort of combination of both brick and mortar with all of the safety protocols and guidelines, and then also some distance learning. So again, the district is putting together recommendations on all three of those plans for school opening. And so we know school will happen. We know that we're going to be teaching and that kids are going to be learning whatever their next grade level standards are. Those are going to be presented. There's a really great plan that Washoe County has put together for teacher preparation. So there are actual webinar and online modules that teachers will be participating in over the summer. They can start as early as June if they want to get ahead of the preparation, or they can wait until August if I need a break, and many of us are at that point where I'm done with distance learning. Let's have a little break. Let's enjoy some summer for a while. So that's nice too, that there's this differentiated approach to helping teachers manage that. And so all of these are still big question marks, and we're waiting for the state and the district to put the guidelines together, knowing that the likelihood is that we would have rolling models. So if we started brick and mortar and there were an infection or an outbreak in the school or in the community, we might go into distance learning for a time and then come back into brick and mortar and maybe go into blended learning. So flexibility is the name of the game. And we know that families are going back to work. And so what does that piece look like? How do we get access to this learning for all of our students if parents are back in the workplace? So unfortunately, I have a lot more questions than answers, but I hope that's helpful, at least to tell you where we're headed.
Great. Yeah, no, that's good information. I feel like we just needed something. And I know that you guys have so many variables to to get it all together. I do have a couple. Anyone else want to chime in on that before I
just want to say, yeah, one of the challenges, like Dan was saying, is motivation for students. And I know parents have even had concern about that. So if you keep everything looking forward, like we're looking forward to next year, we cannot wait to see students next year at some point. But just letting them know, like we've been having student of the month, parent of the month, most improved student, just always, even for parents, having something for kids to look forward to is such a key thing. And we all, like you said, we have a lot of questions about that, but yeah.
Great. Okay. Miss Michael, do you have any? No. Okay, great. Awesome. So I have some questions already. I'm getting them via text, which is how they usually come in. Sorry. So wanting to know if the Washoe County creates an ongoing countywide, or will Incline schools do something different than Washoe County? Because I know sometimes that happens with us. So do you have any insight on that?
More than likely, now that we're in a position to plan, the district and incline schools will probably be pretty similar in our approach to distance learning or brick and mortar. So we'll be adhering to the state and district guidelines. And for the rest of the district, at the end of this school year, so from March until now, they have not been introducing new skills to kids. They've been sort of reviewing the skills that the students had already acquired. And we've been trying to keep going with the grade level standards up in Incline. So I think the district is kind of going to move to our model where, the beginning of the year is going to be difficult. We know that there were skills and standards that students missed because of the distance learning. So how do we kind of remediate those skills and then push forward? So I think the district and incline schools will be pretty similar in our approach.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I think the one place where we do have autonomy still is our school calendar. So the rest of the district, they go back in early August. The teachers report, August 4th, 5th. So we do have that autonomy that our teachers in Incline, we don't start rolling in until later in August. So that is one thing that will remain the same is our school calendar. But I agree with Dan. I mean, our teachers have been pushing forward new content and still kind of moving ahead while everyone else in the district was kind of on pause because they didn't have the technology. A lot of schools didn't have devices for kids. So it was really, we were definitely more prepared in that regard.
Great. And then maybe you guys can touch on testing. Like, what does that look like now with what I don't know.
There's still, currently a lot of the tests for the spring were canceled. A lot of the end of year summative assessments were canceled. The one thing that wasn't canceled was AP testing at the high school level. And it was definitely modified. Instead of their typical 3 to 4 hour exams, they had a 45-minute online exam for each course. And it was really, they created them to be open note, open book, knowing that there's no way to kind of regulate a lot of cheating and plagiarism type things. So they made really higher level questions that students would really have to dig deep, and they weren't, Googleable. Is that a word? Googleable? They weren't Googleable answers for the assessment. So AP testing did continue, and colleges have committed to keeping those AP scores and giving those kids credits in college. We're looking at PSAT in the fall. We're supposed to be ordering those materials for the 10th graders this month, and we're not sure where it stands. So I think a lot of things are still very much up in the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, similarly with elementary, we do MAP testing, which is reading and math, in the right when we get back in the fall, and then in the winter, and then in the spring. So the spring administration of MAP was canceled. And then we also do in grades 3 through 8, SBAC testing, which is English Language Arts, math, and then in 5th and 8th grade, science. And those were canceled this year. And so that is another to be determined what formal testing will look like next year. Now we've done a few things with assessments at both the elementary and the middle school. So students, when they read independently, they have still been able to access AR tests, which are comprehension tests after they've read something independently. And then we track at the elementary school how many words read. And so we'll be honoring our 1,000,000-word challenge winners at our end of year assembly next Friday, June 12th at 10 a.m. So some assessment is still happening, and some it's to be determined.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to say too, those barriers, we have a lot of students that need extra support with testing, with computers, with parents that maybe need extra support. We've had some key people working on that, but it's very important for parents to let us know what those barriers are. Whatever those barriers are that come up with testing or academics or something, we would love to hear them, because we're working on all of those things, diligently trying to get everybody to be successful. So
great. We did have a question about sports. So that's more of a high school, middle school thing. So we did have a question about, will there be football? Will there be different sports in the fall? So do you have any update yet on that?
Yeah, so that's all governed by the NIAA. So that's all a state decision, the Nevada Interscholastic, blah, 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 blah. We should know more in July, but right now they are hoping to phase in and have some sports. It depends on the sport. The individual sports are definitely different. You know, if you're doing cross-country running or if you're doing golf, you're definitely able to be more socially distant than if you're in a huddle with the football players and everybody's in the same space or sharing a locker room. So there's definitely a lot of factors there. So no definite answers right now, but July 3rd is kind of a key milestone, because July 3rd is when the NIAA, like their suspension on all sports ends. So it'll be interesting to see what they push out as far as information moving forward. But again, we're kind of in a zone where we're not totally sure what it's going to look like.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that. And I know that some of the programs, oops, sorry, one second here. I'm opening my chat bubble there. Some of the programs too at the middle school were on hold, like Girls on the Run and things, or I'm sorry, at the elementary school were on hold. And do you have any fall sport type things at the elementary school that you guys?
No, not anything that would be competitive. We have a lot of kids who are in, independent soccer and basketball leagues. And so that guidance is, still to be determined. I know they're starting to open up fitness centers. And so that's a good sign. And I think a lot will have to do with the data around infection rates and things like that, whether we are able to continue moving forward with opening up more and more of our activities. The first big thing that we have athletically in the elementary would be jogathon, which is usually late September, early October. So I'm hoping that we would be able to do that, but we'll see.
Yeah, also, I think June 15th, we got a notice that Boys and Girls Club in Kings Beach is going to be opening up. So as the, Kari, the recreation centers and the other activities, but at least for the summertime, we can try to put that information out so parents know where to go for some activities, at least now. So
I want to add in though a little clarification for Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
It's only for essential workers, like children of essential workers. So they're very limited and they only can operate right now in their Kings Beach site once they do open. And there's going to be an application process. So parents and families would have to qualify based on a list of who the essential workers are in the community. And then those kids would be admitted and they're going to be staying with the same counselor all day and there's going to be no intermixing of students. So, it's definitely not the Boys and Girls Club programming that we've gotten used to at Incline, Truckee, and Kings Beach for all the grade levels. So it's a step in the right direction, which is good, but we're still in a limited operating time.
Yeah, it'll look a little bit different, but it's something. And we'll see how that goes. Yeah, social distancing in children are.
I just wanted to say a little bit, because there was a question about childcare on the chat. And so some of the resources that I'm going to give you, Kari, to post do have countywide information on how to get help and for childcare and that sort of thing. So hopefully that'll relieve some pressure there.
Great. And we can link that to the chats after too, and just put it underneath all of our resources.
Okay.
And all the information for the Boys and Girls Club that Ms. Michael mentioned is on their website as well, right on their homepage. And you can get all the links for the application and everything. It's there. And that's actually on our website as well, just because we partner with them. And I have a question here. Are you teachers and administrators being asked for input on guidelines and ideas? Are they coming to you?
So yes, the district has established several committees, and on the committees are central office leaders, principals, teachers, and parents. And so they're trying to hear a broad voice as the district comes up with the different plans for school opening. And that's huge, because everyone has a slightly different perspective on what is needed and what is going to need to be put in place in order to be successful. So that's been really encouraging, is to have all of these voices shared in order to make these decisions.
Sorry, I have a question about if we're looking at models in other countries. and are they being considered and seeing kind of what's happening? Can you speak to that?
Yes. So definitely we're looking at places where school opening has already occurred. And some of that is happening at the NDE level, the Nevada Department of Education level. And then they're going to inform the school districts on what are the best practices of school opening. And then Washoe County will develop their plan based on the guidance from the Nevada Department of Ed. But yeah, absolutely looking at what's working, what's not working across the world is huge.
And then I did have a question about if we did go to brick and mortar, would the class sizes change? That somebody asked that, if the class size would be different at the different schools. So
I think the tricky part there is there's a huge dichotomy between wanting to, lower class sizes, but we're also facing an educational budget shortfall. So if you don't have enough funding to get new allocations for more teachers, there's no way to realistically get the class sizes down. That's the bummer.
Right. And then there's the space issue. So if everyone were in the building, how many more classrooms would be available? So there's a lot to that. More likely to reduce class size would be that alternate day or morning and afternoon or some other way of reducing the number of kids that are in the building at any given time.
Gotcha. Okay. And I did receive a comment on calendars or a question to see if, I know that you mentioned that our calendars are a little bit further back than Reno. Would the overall school calendar change, like with the breaks and that sort of thing?
No, we would adhere to the agreed upon Incline calendar. So all the breaks would be there. We did that already for distance learning. So when our Incline spring break happened, we had that as a break from distance learning as well. The rest of Washoe County is pretty much wrapping up their instruction tomorrow. We're going all the way till June 12th with instruction, and then June 17th with returning of devices and musical instruments and things like that. So we'll adhere to the calendar as agreed upon.
And just a little heads up for August, the first day of school for Incline schools is Monday, August 24th.
All right, I'm excited. Hopefully we'll be in the building. And how can our community members, say they don't have children here in Incline, but how can they help support the schools during this time?
I think one way is most of our schools are active on social media. So if they follow the schools, on Facebook specifically, you can stay in tune with what's happening and what's going on and any fundraising drives. So I think that's probably a good way, just right off the bat.
And we work with a lot of partner organizations. And so one that comes to mind is the Read With Me program, Roberta and Clay Klein. And they organize community volunteers to read with students. And no matter what model we use for next year, I'd like to see that program come back. So that might it's been really effective in small groups of kids to work with one adult and just share a screen and read to each other and do sight words and things like that. So it's been pretty amazing we've been able to do with some of the digital platforms. And so definitely being in touch with Read With Me, if you're interested in volunteering to read with kids starting next year in August, September, that would be fantastic.
And I think also along with that, Dan, is, mentors, the Read With Me is about mentorship. It's one-on-one, it's awesome. So, if you want to mentor virtually, say we're doing virtual, that would be awesome. If we could do mentorship with adults, if we could keep in contact with the PTA about those fundraising events. I plan on doing leadership with kids and incentives. So some of that information, that funding for incentives goes into a positive behavioral support fund. So, just contacting the school and seeing what we're doing, and if you want to help or if you want to donate some incentives for the kids to keep motivated and keep going. And they're talking about Operation School Bell next year, and they're trying to decide how to do that. next year, because that's the program where we give kids clothes at Walmart, needy kids. And that will take some form next year, but we're still not clear about that too. So there's all sorts of programs to support not just academics, but the social emotional part of kids that if you just contact Dan or I, we can help with that, or Kari Michael.
And we've had a lot of amazing partnerships to help with the technology. So one of the reasons that we've been able, I think we at the elementary, out of 300 students, about 150 have borrowed a device from the school. And the reason that we've been able to have those devices in place, I did some grant writing, but also we had Rotary did some technology donations, and so we were able to purchase new technology through Rotary. Read With Me gave us just a $10,000 donation for additional iPads for the lower grades. And so we're actually at the elementary 1-to-1 in second, third, fourth, and fifth grade, and we're getting very close in pre-K, kinder, and first.
I want to add something else that community asked is we're very short in general on substitute teachers. So if we're looking at getting back into the building, especially with a virus going around, we are in need of substitute teachers. So if you have any desire at any of the levels, please get certified with the Nevada Department of Education, get your substitute license through them, and then you can apply specifically through Washoe County. And the cool thing is it's very flexible. You can choose which days you work. We can call you up and ask you if you want to work, and you could say no, and that's okay. But we are short on substitutes for sure. So that's a big ask.
That's great. That's good information. So check that out, everyone, because we will need subs for sure. And then do you want to give us a little promotion, graduation type update for all three schools? That'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love to start out by thanking the community for supporting the class of 2020. I think our seniors have been greatly affected by this crisis, and they've proven themselves to be super resilient, and there's been a lot of great things happening. So we did raise $5,000 in the community, and that paid for the banners and the yard signs. So I want to thank Incline Property Management. They hung all the banners at the Raley Center, and Larry, the president, was super helpful and very involved in that process and volunteered their time for that. So thank you to them. And the company Nevada Blue in Reno did the banners and the yard signs. So as you drive by a senior's house, honk, shout out to them as well. We're doing a parade for the seniors next Wednesday. So check our Facebook page next week. We're going to publish the route. It's not the typical homecoming parade route. We're going more into the neighborhoods because we don't want to promote large groups getting together. We're trying to be in lots of the neighborhoods so that people can go to neighborhood locations and greet the seniors. But we'll have a senior in every car parading through town, led by Officer Coombs, our fantastic police officer for the schools. We are not able to do an in-person ceremony, but on Thursday, July 18th at 4 p.m., our speeches will be broadcast on KOLO. So that's the school district sponsored broadcast of the speeches and things like that. So 4 p.m. on June 18th, KOLO, and then again, 7:30 p.m. that night on the CW. We are tentatively hoping for an in-person ceremony on the football field on July 8th. We're just waiting on some final approval on that, so we're not sure yet if that's going to happen, but it will be a socially distanced, limited attendance ceremony. So it's not the typical graduation ceremony that we would normally have. Each student would only be allowed to have 2 to 4 people in attendance, but we're really hoping to do something in person to be able to see these kids off. But thank you again for everybody's support in the community.
Dan?
And then with elementary, we will have our big event is on Friday, June 12th at 10 a.m. and that is a live stream through YouTube. So I'll be hosting a Zoom meeting by myself, but I'll be having all these really cool videos that teachers and students have been putting together. We're going to celebrate the retirement of amazing music teacher, Ms. Rita Whitaker-Hahn, and our friend, Mr. Smith, who's been with the PE program forever, is now moving on to a special education teacher position. So we're going to celebrate the two of them in video. We're going to have 5th grade promotion. We're going to have kindergarten promotion. And then we're going to do kind of a special wrap up to the year, a tradition that we started where every student is going to physically move to the next grade level. And so a little surprise there with how that's going to happen. So again, that is a live stream, 10 a.m. on Friday, June 12th.
And I just wanted to say how much we miss every student, and we love, you know, if you tune into those opportunities to see the students, it brings tears to your eyes because, you know, you just haven't seen them. And I had seen a word art kindergarten activity yesterday and just saw the kids with their art, and we miss you. We can't wait to see you again at school. So.
And as far as 8th grade promotion at the middle school, there's not going to be anything in person. So I think Miss Kennedy, the outgoing retiring principal, is still working on what that's going to look like virtually in some form. So you can follow them on Facebook as well.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the cause to mention? Oh, no, that's it. I think for questions, we had a couple statements, but no questions. So anyone have anything else to end with? Final notes?
Just thank you, Kari, for arranging all this. And yeah, let us know if you want to support or if you just need to check in with us.
I just want to thank again the Incline community. I think between Boys and Girls Club, Rotary, providing food, and all the different programs, this community has been so generous in providing for all the people in the community and not just supporting the schools. So I'm just grateful to be part of the Incline team, for sure.
Yeah, I would just echo that. Thank you to everyone for your support of the schools. We know there's some challenging times. We will have summer school and extended school year programs, but they will be digital. So they're also going to be distance learning as well. And we're hoping to see everybody sooner rather than later.
Great. Well, thanks you guys. Thank you so much for your dedication and your energy and your passion for all of our youth in our community, our younger community members. They don't have a lot going on right now, program-wise and school-wise, so except for the distance learning. So your dedication has been amazing to our little community members. Who, you know, I just feel so terrible for them missing out on all this fun stuff. So I'm excited that we got a chance to talk today and people got a chance to ask questions. Thank you so much. We do have one more chat tomorrow with our interim general manager, Indra Winquest, at 11 a.m. So a lot of our venues, people are wondering about summer because it feels like summer outside. So we're going to update you again. We have some new updates. Some new venue updates and that sort of thing. So we're gonna update everyone then. But thank you everyone for your help today and time. I appreciate you. And until next time, remember to look up. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks.